Hi guys, and welcome back to Movies That Matter with the Viking. And the Bane character is a very interesting character to me. I was first exposed to the character, of course, in Batman and Robin in that terrible film, but that character was used for more as muscle and just as an intimidating factor. But throughout the years, Bane has been used more as kind of a psychological villain, especially in The Dark Knight Rises with Tom Hardy taking up the role and doing a fantastic job going toe to toe with Christian Bale's Batman in a beautifully directed film by Christopher Nolan. But throughout the Arkham games, we've seen Bane as this big, brooding character, but also this thought provoking character in other elements of his storytelling through comic books. And the origins of Bane comic book is a very interesting comic book that I would love to see adapted in a Bane solo film. Now, a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, we learned that there was talk of a Bane solo film happening off the heels of the Joker film and that's success, but that was squashed because Matt Reeves seemingly wants to use the character going forward in his Batman trilogy. And many people have cast or have typecast, fan cast Dave Batista as Bane. And look, he's probably perfect for the role. He's really kind of learning his craft as an actor. And he's even said before that he's not the best actor, but he's learning his way. He's trying to find himself as an actor and get into it more. He's a big man. He could play Bane, definitely. He could pull it off 100%. But I suppose it depends on what kind of story you want to tell with Bane. Do you want to tell more of a psychological story in terms of acting, in terms of how the character is perceived, much like Dark Knight Rises, much like the origin story of Bane in the comics? Or do you want to use him as more of a muscle, as more of an intimidating factor instead of a kind of a mental thing for Batman? That's an interesting thing. It depends what Matt Reeves wants to do going forward. If he just wants to be muscle and brooding and big and strong and intimidating, then Dave Bautista would probably be a great choice for that. And I think you do need a big man for that character, absolutely. A big, natural muscular man in Dave Bautista. But also, Dave Batista has improved his acting over time. He had a cameo on Blade Runner 2049. He did a pretty good job in that. He can act. He's not a bad actor or anything like that. He's not one of the worst actors out there. Not at all. I think it would be very interesting if he did get to be Bane. But he said a few months ago that he was meeting Warner Brothers for something exciting, and maybe this was it. He said he met Warner Brothers, and look, it's not happening, but maybe that's what the meeting was about a few months ago when he did go to Warner Brothers. And for me, would I like Dave Batista become Bane? Yes, I would. I really would. But it depends on the world that Matt Reeves is trying to tell. Is it kind of a superhero world in terms of like the Schneiderverse, in terms of these characters having extraordinary abilities? Or is it more of a grounded real life story and telling of Batman in terms of real characters? And like the Joker didn't have superpowers, Bane didn't have superpowers, Ra's al Ghul, Scarecrow in the Nolan trilogy, these were kind of real men, real characters that just were doing things because of how they were treated in the world or because of their circumstances. So we don't know what kind of world Matt Reeves is building. We'll have to wait and see for the trailer and see if it's kind of a grounded Batman role, but maybe he has someone else in mind for the Bane character going forward. I'm guessing that he will not be picking Dave Bautista because Dave Bautista tweeted this out. Of course, there's been rumors and people having discussions and talks online that Dave Bautista is in talks or is rumored to be Bane, but Dave Bautista himself personally put this down. He goes forward. Unfortunately, it's not. Tried my best. So that's that meeting he probably had with Warner Bros. Months ago. And did he have an idea for the Bane character? What capacity was he trying to get to become Bane? Was it in the Matt Reeves trilogy? Was he trying to get in there for this solo film that they were trying to do? Is Matt Reeves, after declining him as his Bane, I would love to know in what capacity was being going to be a part of the Suicide Squad film with James Gunn, but then that was squashed because Matt Reeves wants to use him. That's pretty interesting. Him and James Gunn are very good friends, and I know that Dave Bautista has tried to become a DC character for quite a while right now, and of course he's Drax in the MCU, but I think his time with Disney may be coming to an end after maybe Guardians of the Galaxy 4. I don't think he's on best terms with them ever since he stood up and fought for James Gunn to be rehired as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe things are okay now, but he was very vocal at that time and very critical of Disney and Kevin Feige and the powers to be at that time, and stood by his friend James Gunn. I think James Gunn probably wanted to repay the favour by casting him in a DC movie, and maybe he wasn't let because there's ideas for Bane going forward in terms of Matt Reeves, and maybe that's what he's doing, and Dave Bautista just doesn't fit that kind of role and that story that he wants to tell. Can Dave Bautista really carry a movie in terms of Tom Hardy carried a movie in The Dark Knight Rises? Is Bane going to be a side character? We just don't know these things yet, but I would love to know in what capacity Dave Batista met with Warner Bros. In what capacity he actually tried to become the character. I would find that interesting and what idea that he had for the character. But guys, let me know your thoughts on this interesting thing that Dave Batista tried to become Bane for the Batman trilogy or the Batman movie, but it didn't work out. And does this mean that Bane has a slight appearance in the Batman movie? Pretty interesting, pretty cool. Seems to be a lot of villains at stake in that film. But guys, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Come follow me on all the social medias. And always remember, Bane will break Batman's back. Yeah, that's my terrible impression of Bane. Yep, I know. Let me know how bad that was in the comments.